Every generation inherits a business myth, a story repeated so often it eventually becomes accepted as truth. The modern version is called the solopreneur, the individual who supposedly does everything, creates every product, answers every message, solves every problem, and somehow continues growing. The media loves this story because it celebrates effort. But systems do not care about effort. Systems care about structure, and structure reveals something uncomfortable. If a business depends entirely on one person's attention, it is not a scalable asset. It is a dependency disguised as a company. The entrepreneur becomes the product, the bottleneck, and eventually, the failure point. What appears to be freedom is often just self-employment wearing luxury branding. Because empires are not built through activity. Empires are built through architecture, and architecture begins where human effort ends.
Most people see business as work. Architects see business as design. This distinction changes everything. Workers wake up asking, what needs to be done today? Architects wake up asking, what should never need to be done again? The difference seems subtle, but over time, it produces entirely different realities. One person accumulates tasks, the other accumulates systems. One becomes increasingly busy, the other becomes increasingly leveraged. This is the foundation of Asutsun business architecture. A business is not a collection of activities. It is a collection of processes. And every process can be engineered, measured, optimized, and eventually automated. The goal is not to become more productive. The goal is to make productivity irrelevant. Because the highest form of efficiency is eliminating the need for effort altogether.
Traditional companies measure growth through expansion. More employees, more departments, more management, more complexity. But complexity carries a hidden cost. Every additional human introduces communication overhead, coordination overhead, training overhead, decision overhead. The system becomes heavier, slower, and increasingly fragile. Modern digital empires operate differently. They optimize for density, revenue per employee, profit per workflow, output per decision. The strongest businesses are not necessarily the largest. They are the most compressed, the most efficient, the most architecturally dense. Because density creates resilience, and resilience creates freedom. The future belongs not to organizations with the biggest workforce, but to infrastructures with the highest leverage.
Every scalable business contains 3 invisible layers. The first is acquisition. Its job is simple: capture attention, filter intent, identify demand. The second is conversion. Transform curiosity into commitment, trust into transactions, attention into capital. The third is delivery. Fulfill the promise, transfer value, complete the exchange. Most businesses fail because humans manually connect these layers. Every handoff creates friction. Every manual action creates delay. Every delay creates cost. The architect sees something different, a system where information flows automatically, where customers move naturally, where fulfillment activates instantly. The objective is not speed. The objective is continuity. A business should function like a river, not a bucket brigade, because rivers scale, buckets do not. People often assume automation is a tool, but tools are not the advantage. Configuration is. 100 disconnected software subscriptions create chaos. 3 perfectly integrated systems create leverage. The value is not inside the components. The value exists between them, inside the connections, the flows, the triggers, the architecture. When payment activates onboarding, when onboarding updates databases, when databases trigger delivery, when delivery generates feedback, the business begins behaving like an organism. Information circulates, decisions propagate, value compounds, without requiring constant supervision. At that moment, the entrepreneur stops acting as a worker and starts acting as a controller, not operating the machine, but directing the machine.
Imagine 2 businesses. The first depends on daily effort. The second depends on daily systems. Now remove the founder. For 1 week, which survives? The answer reveals everything. A hustle-based company cannot separate revenue from labor. Its income depends on constant presence. Its momentum depends on constant attention. Its growth depends on constant sacrifice. That is not leverage. That is dependency. The strongest businesses are designed to survive absence, because true assets continue functioning without supervision. A rental property does not ask for motivation. A server does not require inspiration. A system does not need encouragement. The architecture continues. The value continues. The flow continues. And this separation between effort and outcome is where scalable wealth begins.
Most people think wealth is created by earning more. Architects understand something deeper. Wealth is preserved through design. Revenue is only an input. Architecture determines retention. A business leaking time, leaking complexity, leaking operational energy will eventually leak capital. But a business engineered for efficiency compounds differently. The friction disappears, the waste disappears, the overhead disappears, and what remains is retained value. Visible success is rarely the cause, it is usually the consequence. The real source exists beneath the surface, inside the invisible architecture that nobody notices, until it begins producing extraordinary outcomes. The next generation of entrepreneurs will not compete through effort. They will compete through design. They will not ask, "How can I work harder?" They will ask, "How can the system work without me?" Every process becomes a candidate for elimination. Every bottleneck becomes a design challenge. Every repetitive task becomes an automation opportunity. The objective is not to build a bigger workload. The objective is to build a stronger architecture. Because the modern empire is not measured by office size, or employee count, or visible activity. It is measured by the amount of value generated without requiring human intervention. The greatest businesses are not operated, they are orchestrated. Most people look at a one-person empire and admire the individual. The architect looks deeper, past the founder, past the brand, past the visibility, and finds the real source of power, the system. Because people create motion, but systems create scale. People generate effort, but architecture generates leverage, and leverage is where wealth begins. This is Nexera, Decoding Systems, Architecting Wealth.